I've had enough in sports. I've had enough of black media. Yeah, I said black media. Oh, he said black. Oh, my God, he's a racist. Coming at Caitlin Clark. Look, the latest jackass to do so, the latest race-baiting clown, is a guy named Jim Trotter who unsuccessfully, I do believe, tried to sue the NFL for racial discrimination. He writes for The Atlantic. Here's what he had to say about Caitlin Clark. Now listen to this for just a second. We should not delude ourselves into believing her appeal as an influencer is based solely on basketball, because it's not. Arguing otherwise is an affront to history and reality. Well, let me explain this to you. No, it's not. The country is 60% white. The country is 90% heterosexual. Now, whether you don't like that or not, so you're right. It's not based solely on that. It never is based solely. You think those clowns that are on NBA Countdown, those black women, are on NBA Countdown because of their great insight? Hell, Stephen A. Smith was hired at ESPN because Skip Bayless needed a black co-host. People are always hired for things based on things other than performance. They're hired on their appeal. They're hired on their color. I mean, all you got to do is watch a commercial. I mean, you think all those homosexual couples are there because, well, homosexual couples sell things? Of course not. They're hired for a reason. I mean, just stop the crap. College basketball, they always said, and this is a dirty little secret, well, you better get a black assistant in there. Athletic directors would tell. So, of course, people are hired for reasons other than just their performance, you idiot. But you got a 60% population, 13% black population. Of course, a company is going to look at that. And if you don't think that, then I don't know what to tell you. Attractiveness in local companies and national corporations is heightened by the fact that she's a white woman. Of course, the country's 60% white. I mean, what are you doing? I'll get into the other reasons, but yeah. I mean, you can hire somebody that looks like 60%, or you can hire somebody that looks like 13%. I mean, what are you going to do? Of course. I mean, it just makes sense. But you're not allowed to say that. I mean, we're all supposed to shut up. I mean, right? Turn on your TV. Every analyst in every area is African American, not because they're the smarter or not, either way, just because they're black. I mean, are you crazy? I mean, just stop it with this stupidity. Honest to God, the level of stupid, we're not allowed to say this though, right? This will be construed as racist. I'm just giving you facts. I'm just telling you what's real. Attractiveness to local companies and national corporations is heightened by the fact that she's a white woman who dominated a sport that's viewed as predominantly black. Well, yeah, that and no woman in the WNBA before her ever changed basketball. They're all the same. I mean, Diana Taurasi, white woman, by the way, she's a great player, but she didn't change nothing. Sue Bird, great player. Nobody did nothing. Asia Wilson, nobody gives a rat's ass about her. Hell, in Indianapolis, there aren't 5 people that don't work for the Fever that can tell you Leah Boston was the Rookie of the Year. Not 5 people. Not 5. Right here in our city. I asked people, hey, you know the Pacers had the Rookie of the, or the Fever had the Rookie of the Year in the WNBA? Yeah, who's that? But this woman changed the sport. And yes, being white certainly helped her. So what? Just like black has helped every person you've seen on TV except Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Shaq. I mean, all these people that weren't great athletes that somehow show up. Did you see the woman's NCAA coverage? Black, black, black. I mean, wonder why that is. Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's diversity? No, it's not. But we're not allowed to say this. I mean, it's just starting to piss me off. I mean, we don't want to talk about black. Everybody's treated the same, but we got black media. We got black Twitter. I mean, what are you, nuts? So this guy, Jim Trotter, well, of course it is. And so what? So the hell what? Dominated by a sport that's viewed as predominantly black, a straight woman who is joining a league with a sizable LGBTQ plus player population, and a person who comes from America's heartland, where residents often feel their beliefs and values are ignored or disrespected by the geographical edges of the country. Oh, that's bullshit. I mean, the truth of the matter is I've lived in the Midwest my whole life, and not one person gives a rat's ass about what the West Coast is doing other than the fact that we laugh, or what the East Coast is doing other than the fact that we know they're smug. Don't give a rat's ass even at all. And that's right. That's right. The view, if you really want to talk about it, is that the WNBA is a bunch of angry lesbians with a multi-lesbian crowd. I mean, okay. So here comes a heterosexual, most of the population, 90% of the population, 60% white. Here comes a woman, and the fact that she's better than everybody, and the most important thing is that the way she plays is different. There's no difference between Asia Wilson and any of these other WNBA quote stars. No different in Brittany Griner other than she's 6'9" with an Adam's apple. There's no different. Diana Taurasi played like a dude, but she drove the ball. It wasn't interesting. There's nothing. I can't tell you one thing about Sue Bird's game. Nothing. Zero. But honest to God, I can tell you about Caitlin Clark. Jacking up shots. Deep. Arguing with officials. Playing with a swagger. I don't give a shit if she's white or black. But the fact that she's white, of course it's helped her. Just like the fact that most of the people you see on television, or most of the people you see in big business that are African-American were helped by being African-American. Now, you don't like to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. Well, I got it on my own. I'm sure you did. But ain't nobody on that set of NBA Countdown got it on their own. I mean, I was there. I know the politics of that and other places. And yet, white guys white men and women who make up 60% of the country are supposed to apologize for that? Not a chance in holy hell. Not a chance in holy hell. And if you don't like it, tough shit, Jim Trotter or Mike Freeman or anybody else. I know I'm racist. You can't even say the word white in the post-George Floyd era if you're a white guy, or black if you're a white guy. Screw it. I've had enough. The racial component when discussing brand ambassadors may make people uncomfortable. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because how many black folks have we seen be brand ambassadors? I don't know. Steph Curry got him a lot of commercials. I don't know, man. Sir Charles got him a lot of commercials. He makes fun of it. He did on my show. Shaq, a lot of commercials. Yeah, I don't know. Serena Williams is the number one influencer among women with commercials. Of the top 10, 5 are black. Now, remember, top 10 earners from commercials in women's sports. 5 of 10 are black, and that's 13% of the population. So shut the living hell up with all this. Shut the living hell because some white girl got some endorsements and it pisses black people off because it's their sport. It ain't their sport. I, as a white guy, used to go around Gary, Indiana, kick the living shit out of every black guy I played against and laugh at him. It ain't your sport. And it's pissing black people off that all these white folks are doing damage. I mean, Jokic just whipped up on the beloved LeBron James again last night. And it's pissing you off because y'all are racist. Racism sucks. And your type racism sucks worse. Nah, maybe not worse, just as bad. The racial component when discussing brand ambassadors may make people uncomfortable, but it's a conversation that merits consideration. Okay, here's the consideration. Why are all these black dudes getting so much money from endorsing companies? There's a conversation. I mean, let's go. Why? I mean, we're racist, or it's uncomfortable because a white girl gets some endorsements. It's uncomfortable because of that, according to this freaking idiot Jim Trotter. Really? Why isn't it uncomfortable that Steph Curry, LeBron James, why isn't it uncomfortable that these other folks get endorsements? I mean, they're great players. I mean, if you really listen to him, Kevin Durant shouldn't have a commercial ever. He just sits there and mumbles. Why is it uncomfortable that Michael Jordan, Floyd Mayweather, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Serena Williams, why isn't that uncomfortable? Why is that more deserved than the greatest attraction in the history of women's professional and college basketball? I didn't say the greatest player. You can make an argument however you want to make that argument. But the greatest attraction, and again, that's probably racist. Well, she's a white girl. No, the numbers say it. Whether it's jersey sales, whether it's ratings, whether it's interest in the draft. Well, there were other women too. Yeah, but not even close. And if you think there were, you're just stupid. So why is it uncomfortable only when we talk about Caitlin Clark? I mean, because we're not allowed to say the other way. We're not allowed to say everybody you see on TV or 90% of who you see on TV doesn't deserve to be there. They're there because, as my agent said, hey, Dan, do you know any young African-American guys? Or do you know any, kind of Asian women? I'm like, why, Maury? Well, that's the only people that they're asking for now. Okay, why is that? Why is that? Well, that's an uncomfortable conversation. It's not a knock against her personally or slight to her sublime basketball skills. It's a nod to the reality that brand ambassadorship at her level is not simply a commentary on someone's athletic ability. It's also a reflection on society's impact on who gets the bigger bag. Yeah, that's right. Society's impact. 60% white. Largest audience to ever watch women's college basketball. So because of those things, she jumps in there with Tiger Woods, the greatest to ever golf, depending whether you go by majors or excitement. Serena Williams, the greatest female athlete that I've ever seen. Steph Curry. I mean, just turn your TV on. I mean, goddamn, Carmelo Anthony and Kendrick Perkins and TJ Ford do a commercial, a national commercial. I mean, are you kidding me? One's retired, one's a racist, and one nobody even knows who the hell he is. I mean, so just stop it. Stop it, stupid, as my buddy used to tell me. Stop it, stupid. I mean, of course people get things. Of course they get them based on how they look. But Caitlin Clark's isn't that. Caitlin Clark's is how she's performed, how she's acted, and how she has come into, yes, a predominantly black league where everybody's the same. Nobody knows. It's a subsidized league. I mean, read what Jason Whitlock says about the WNBA. It's really funny. It's a subsidized by the WNBA league, and now they've got more interest than ever because of one person, and one person only, and that is Caitlin Clark. And all these black dudes are whining, bitching, and moaning because they can't stand seeing a white girl get the bag. And it's making them crazy, and it's racist, and frankly, it's bullshit. It's hypocritical bullshit, and I ain't surprised. Not even a little. Because in the post-George Floyd era, guys like me, middle-aged white guys, we're not supposed to speak up. And I guarantee you, anybody that watches it, oh, Dakich, you're racist. No, I'm not. Not even a little bit. I judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I'm paid to call out bullshit when I see it. And Jim frickin' whatever his name is full of shit. He's just piggybacking. And you know what? If the girl got it, if the company was smart enough, because she was white, hey, man, tough shit. The country's 60% white. She's pretty good. They ain't giving me that. They're giving the best, the most not the best necessarily. We'll see. I don't know if she's the best ever, but the most interesting to ever play. The most interesting. And all you got to do is go by the numbers. Her, quote, bag, which is all the dumbasses say. Well, go get my bag. Yeah, okay, get your bag. They gave her the bag, and in basketball, and it pisses African Americans off like it's their job, and in fact, it is their job. And they just show Jim Trotter and Mike Freeman and others how racist they are, and frankly, how stupid they are. All right, the NFL draft yesterday. First, good for Detroit. Detroit showed out. I can't believe you got that many people into that space in downtown Detroit. It's pretty good. No, it's really good. No, it was fantastic. Now, I got to tell you, Michael Penix was the interesting pick. And, of course, people are going to criticize it. And, of course, Fontenot, who is the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, is now incompetent, stupid, blah, 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 because they gave Kirk Cousins the bag. I mean, he got the bag, yo. So he gets the bag. They bring in Penix, and I think it's good for everybody. I think it's great for everybody. You know what I mean? I think it's good. Here's my thing. My thing is this. My thing is Kirk Cousins goes there having no idea, none whatsoever, none, that they're going to draft a quarterback. They do. And guess what? It's early. It's top 10. That means they got a plan. Holy shit. What does that mean? Well, I don't know. Who does know? How can you know? I don't know. I mean, the truth of the matter is Cousins signed a big deal once again. But they brought in a guy that I think is really good. Like, I think he's really good. I did. I think he's really good. Like, I was shocked that he was always a second-round pick. I was shocked that he came out and, you know what? He went off in every game I saw. And he was picked to be in the second round. It was interesting. Really, really interesting. Anyway, Good for him. That was shocking. The Bears got themselves a wide receiver, and the Bears got themselves a quarterback. Personally, I don't give a rat's ass, not even a little bit. Not even slightly do I give a rat's ass about whether or not Caleb Williams wears pink fingernails, has a pink phone, whatever. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is, can he sling the caca? Can he throw the football? And he's got some weapons. They added another weapon. The Bears did well. My guys with the Colts, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming. We knew it like it was our job. We knew it. We knew what was coming was this. Well, I tried to move up, Chris Ballard said. I wanted to move up, but it takes two to tango. Really? Oh, okay. I predicted that on my afternoon show where we talk local. I did. I predicted that easy. I mean, we knew he wasn't gonna, because he never has. He took a guy that 2 years ago was told to retire, who has apparently a great tape, and away you go. Now, it's interesting. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. The deal is this. The NFL draft, as Greg McElroy said, you know a good pick if they sign a second deal with your team. So the question becomes, which of these 6 quarterbacks is going to sign a second deal with their team? That's going to be fascinating. 6 picked before number 15. It was kind of predictable, but it's interesting. Who's going to sign a second deal? I got no idea. Like, I have absolutely, positively no clue. And I don't think anybody else does. It's like the NBA. Like, I think J.J. McCarthy went to a great spot. I think J.J. McCarthy went to the perfect spot. He's got Jordan Addison. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Aaron Jones. I mean, what the hell? I mean, he should wake up today and go, hey, thank you. But the fact of the matter is, you got to go play. You got to go play. And I've always said this about NBA guys. Somebody says, well, who's going to play in the NBA? I don't know. Unless it's LeBron, unless it's Wembanyama, unless it's Durant, unless it's one of the, top 5 guys. Can he play in the NBA? I don't know. Depends on the fit. I don't know. Maybe. Steve Kerr has 5 rings. I say this all the time. Robert Horry has 5 rings. LeBron doesn't. LeBron's a hell of a lot better player than either of those two. But the long story short of it is, I don't know. Fit matters. Fit matters. Big time. Big time. And we'll see. But I do know this. When you look at Caleb Williams, pretty good fit. Really good fit. When you look at Jaden Daniels, keys to the car, baby. Absolute keys to the car. Period. No question about it. When you look at J.J. McCarthy, hey, look, man, you got weapons right now. All these quarterbacks seemingly, except Michael Penix, fit. Now, the one thing you got to remember about Michael Penix is guys that have sat, and it's not just Aaron Rodgers, it's Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow got hurt and had to sit for a year. A lot of guys out there, uber successful. I mean, I think right now we'd say Jordan Love's a great quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but he's a coming quarterback. He's on the come. By the end of it, he was lights out. Guess what? He sat. Aaron Rodgers, we know he sat. So it's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of how long you're going to sit. We'll see, but I love the pick of Michael Penix. Here's the thing about Michael Penix. Michael Penix played 4 years here at Indiana. And I got a lot of friends that are down there in the athletic department and around the football and everything else, and they all say the same thing. What a great guy. Not a good guy, a great guy. I'm kind of fired up for Michael Penix. I am. I'm actually very fired up for Michael Penix. There are all kind of unintended consequences in the WNBA. All right? Okay. Here's the deal. In the NBA, with the NIL, I get confused. Sometimes my brain is going so fast that I throw things out. But here's the deal. With the NIL, we said this was going to happen. The handshake line. We said this about Ohio State. Remember when Ohio State got fired Chris Holtmann? Remember that? So they fire Chris Holtmann. They have an interim coach who they eventually made the coach in Jake Diebler. Terrific choice for Ohio State. Ohio State has a sophomore class in basketball that's considered very good. And we said this, in the handshake line, other schools, other coaches are going to be like, hey, Bruce Thornton, remember, we got a spot for you. We got a ton of money. Call me after the season. And then they move on to the next guy. And we told you that was going to happen. We said that was going to happen. Well, guess what? It's happened. Allegedly, it's happened. And I'm going to go allegedly because one thing I know about in college basketball and football and every other part of it, man, things are never as they seem. A guy could look dead at you and tell you some nonsense. Another guy can look dead at you and tell you the truth, and you don't know which is which. So I'm not sure, but here's what we got. Former Wisconsin Stars and the Big Ten basketball program are facing serious tampering allegations. That's Illinois. A.J. Storr's rep reportedly had a new deal with a rival team long before the season ended. This is what I was talking about. And I don't know whether this is 100% true or not. I know it was written in OutKick, which means it's 99.99999999999, keep going, true. But I always wonder, there's always this little bit of me, and no matter what the story, that's like, I wonder how the deal came about. But anyway, Greg Gard was talking about the NIL. He was talking about the transfer portal as he had his starting backcourt, and it's a good one, Chucky Hepburn and A.J. Storr both leave. Hepburn ended up at Louisville. Storr ended up at Kansas. Both, I think I read yesterday, well, I know I did, that Hepburn got $700,000 to go to Louisville. I think that was in the paper here on Twitter. And by the way, if somebody on Twitter says it, you know it's true. You know it's true. Anyway, here's what Greg Gard had to say about it. Let's listen to Gard.
I've seen this landscape coming. This isn't a surprise to anybody. And anybody that I'm not mad at anybody because, or specifically Chucky and AJ, if anybody in their right mind told any of you guys or gals that you could go triple your income by taking a different job, you'd do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked. And so for a variety of reasons, did we all not want to see them go? Yeah, of course. Love those two kids. They were great for us. But I understand the landscape we're in. I would tell my kid probably to do the same thing if I was in that position because the earning power window is really small. And when they have those type of opportunities in front of them, that's hard to say no to. And so I don't begrudge them at all for that. So
yeah, that's very true. It would be very difficult for me not to want to punch somebody on another staff. It just would. But then you got to separate it. You got to say, in this particular environment, it is no longer, we got 13 scholarships, you got 13 scholarships, we come in with our presentation on a kid, you come in with your presentation on a kid and let the best man win. That's not it anymore. I got 13 scholarships, you got 13 scholarships, but your bag of NIL money is bigger than my bag of NIL money, and I can come in with a presentation that lays out the kid's future, and you come in and simply say, look, I'm going to give you $700,000, which is what Hepburn allegedly got at Louisville, and it's over, particularly if I'm not giving $700,000. If I'm giving $100,000, it's over. You know, I think I told you this before. I had a college coach that went, hey, I talked for 45 minutes to a kid on the phone, and we talked about education, and we talked about the fit, and we talked about the great alumni, and we talked about all those things. And at the end, all the kid wanted to know was what was the NIL offer. And the coach, who's in the Hall of Fame, said, Dan, I could have stopped this and saved myself 45 minutes of my life by simply saying, hey, guess what? Here's the offer. You coming or not? I mean, that's the landscape of college basketball. It just is. And the unintended consequence is this. Here's what they had to say. Perhaps the biggest mark against Storr joining the Badgers is that his people were negotiating with other programs after the fast start and in the middle of the season. He reportedly made a deal with Illinois in February to help them reload for the following season. Kansas apparently outbid this month. Well, this isn't unprecedented because Bill Self, who is the coach of Kansas, said that in the middle of the season, he was thinking about how he was going to reload for next year. How about that? So a kid is thinking about how he is going to reload the bank account for next year, and Self is thinking about how they had a bad year for Kansas by Kansas standards, how he was reloading for next year. That's the world we live in, man. That's the world we live in, and we told you that was coming. In fact, Seth Greenberg told you that was coming on here. I told you that was coming. If you've coached, you know it's coming. It's coming like a freight train right at your head, and that light starts here, and that light gets big, and then it smacks you right in the face when all of a sudden you're Greg Gard. People aren't exactly happy with what you've done in the NCAA tournament of late, although I think he's a terrific coach and a better man. But that light smacks you right in the face, and it smacks you right in the face hard, and it's going to derail your career. I mean, that's what it does. I mean, let's be totally honest. Nobody ever heard of the Denver Nuggets, even when Carmelo was there, until Jokic came. Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's terrific. Don't shortchange Jamal Murray. But nobody heard of him. What's my point? Players matter. It's all about players. You know, I learned that as a young coach. When I was a head coach, we won like 22 and 24 games 2 out of 3 years. And we were losing a senior class, and one of the kids was a star. And I'm like, oh, good, I can run my offense now. Really? Okay. And then in the summer, I started watching tape, and I'm like, whoa, he bailed us out a lot. Oh, boy. I mean, you learn. Players matter, baby. Players matter big freaking time. Matter. Huge. And when you lose your 2 starters, it pisses you off. It crushes souls. But you know what else it does? It tells you an unintended consequence of college basketball, which is you're never done recruiting your own. A.J. Storrs and Chucky Hepburn were not only given a red light, or green light to shoot, they were given ultra green. They were given fluorescent green. They were going to play 40 minutes. They were going to get the ball. They were going to get the ball late. They were going to be the star. They were going to have everything they wanted. And by the way, Wisconsin's a hell of a place. Hell of a place to go to college. Hell of an education. Hell of a guy to play for. Hell of a system. Hell of a tradition in the last 30 years. But that ain't good enough. Money talks, and I agree. I agree with Greg Gard. If any of us can change and make 3 times, you know we're doing that. What are you, crazy? Of course we're doing that. Robert Kraft has been in the news, and not for a squeezer, not for the New England Patriots, other than the fact that, of course, he circumvented Atlanta's bid, or Belichick's bid, to go to Atlanta. That was last week's news. This week's news is Robert Kraft, who is a major contributor to his alma mater. There's a Kraft Center. There's all kind of different stuff there. Robert Kraft is taking aim at his alma mater, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it, man. Robert Kraft is saying campus leaders must show courage. They must stop radical professors from poisoning young minds. He did this in an op-ed in the New York Post, and this is something that people have said and said and said, and it's been called a conspiracy theory. You know, the old right-wing conspiracy theory that everybody gets into? You know, the old, it's just a right-wing conspiracy theory, that Biden laptop. It's just a right-wing conspiracy theory, Jeffrey Epstein's island. You know, the Ukraine, the money we're pouring, it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. Monica Lewinsky, right-wing conspiracy theory. Russian disinformation, Russian influence in the election, right-wing conspiracy theory. Well, this has been the same. Now, many people have commented that professors at our prestigious institutions, including the Ivy League, have been so radically left that they are, in fact, and to quote Robert Kraft, poisoning the mind of young students. Now, you all know I had a young student in my household, the lovely and talented Tegan Shaw, go to Harvard. I don't feel like her mind has been poisoned, but she was an econ major. I mean, she wasn't sociology. She was econ. How you poisoning the mind of, 2 + 2 = 5, supply and demand. You know what I mean? That's where we're at. Supply and demand, damn it. Econ's a little more than that, and I'm sure you can poison someone's mind. But the fact of the matter is this. This is a problem. And the problem is coming to a forefront on all kinds of college campuses. In fact, all kinds of cities, and I'm glad Robert Kraft stood up. Colleges are actually giving in. Colleges are saying, yeah, you win. Southern California, who I argued with the Flying Knicks, I thought USC in California was a school that was small. I know where it is. It's in, I think, Watts or outside of Watts, and I was told it had a big old wall around it, and it was a small school. My brother was dying to send his daughter there. She liked Vanderbilt instead. Okay. Well, apparently 60,000 people, listen to this, 60,000 people go to graduation. University of Southern Cal announced Thursday it's canceling its May graduation ceremony in light of the hostility drawing from the anti-Israel protesters clashing on college campuses. They don't think it's safe. They don't think they can do it safely. They don't think they can get people in and out, have a ceremony, bring all those people together. How about that? The class of 2024 is likely the same group of people not having a graduation at USC that didn't have a graduation in high school due to COVID. How about that? Now, you're asking me? I'm a little different. I would say, yay. Yay, rah. I don't have to go to graduation. Both. I remember my high school graduation. My dean, Dean Barancic, when I opened up my diploma, it said, see me. I'm like, oh, crap. I'd gotten in a fist fight, punched a big fat kid in the face, knocked him across Sue Matthews' his desk because he called me a derogatory, a gay slur, he called me as he walked into class. I took offense. So I had to do 2 detentions, Breakfast Club style, after my graduation. I didn't need that in my life. But anyway, here's what we're saying. Today, the attention and visual surrounding the hateful protests taking place on Columbia campus have been focused on the students. But the students have been taught and empowered by faculty more focused on politics than they are on education. These are not professors that I had who exemplified the fundamental principles underpinning the mission of higher education in the United States. I do not recognize my alma mater. The Columbia I loved is no longer the place I know. That's Robert Kraft talking about Columbia. Good for him. Look, at some point you got to stand up, don't you? At some point, you got to. You have to. I mean, stop. At some point, you got to do what they did here in Indianapolis when yesterday people, professionals, not people from Indy, people from other parts, were flown, driven, brought in to protest in front of the governor's mansion. Cops said, screw you, 14 of you, you're going to jail. Down in Bloomington, they told you, go protest over there. Dunn Meadow, Indiana University is in Bloomington. Dunn Meadow, that's where you protest. Hell, I told you this before. I went and protested apartheid back in the 80s because a hot girl asked me to. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll spend the night with you in a tent. Let's do it. But anyway, 34 people were arrested. It was pretty funny. They got a bus. They got like one of the city buses, loaded all of the protesters on the bus and drove them to the courthouse. I don't know what's going to happen, but it is pretty funny. But it's not funny that we have to interrupt ceremonies that, well, honor success, perseverance, and hard work, like a graduation ceremony from a prestigious institution like USC. That sucks. That's winning for the protesters. That's losing for decency. Two former U.S. former women's soccer star Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird urged the NCAA to not ban trans athletes from NCAA sports. To deny trans athletes a fundamental right to be who they are. No one's denying that. What are you talking about? Go play with the guys. To access the sport they love, go play with the guys. And to receive the proven mental and physical health benefits of sports goes against the very principles of the NCAA's Constitution. Go play with guys. By barring transgender athlete, you would severely limit the capacity of your member institutions to protect and support their athletes. Why? I think it's more dangerous if you have dudes running around locker rooms. I think it's more dangerous if you have men, Leah Thomas, standing there with their business out in front of women in the NCAA swimming championships. No? No, maybe I'm wrong. Moreover, you would be actively disparaging transgender athletes. No, go play with the guys. The same athletes you chose to protect when you agreed to serve on the Board of Governors. That's Athletes Allied letter to the NCAA. See, here's the deal. If Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird had to compete against men, they would get their ass kicked. Wait, they already did. Hold the phone. This is a tweet from Piers Morgan. A reminder, Megan Rapinoe was part of the all-conquering world champion U.S. women's national team that lost 5-2 to the Dallas Football Club's boys under 15. That's right. They lost 5-2 against Dallas Academy boys. See, these two don't have to participate. And like Jim Trotter and others, they're simply trying to make a name for themselves in a space that's very lucrative and makes you very popular. I have a solution to the whole thing. I want everybody included. Go play with the boys. Period. Period. That's what I see. I mean, why should, if we're protecting women, why should a woman have to share a locker room? Why should a woman get hit in the face by a dude with a volleyball? Why should a woman get elbowed in the face by a dude playing basketball? That doesn't seem to be protecting women. Who are we protecting? You know, people always point to, well, there's only 100 transgender athletes in NCAA sports. All right. Well, that's 100 opportunities women don't get. It's also 100 opportunities for men to hurt women. And we've seen it time and time again. We've had a few on our show. Who are we protecting, the 100? Or are we protecting the over 3,000? I don't know. But I got a simple solution, and nobody wants to hear it. But it is a very simple solution. That is, ladies and gentlemen, have transgender athletes, all of them, men to women, women to men, compete in men's sports. Very simple. I got to tell you, I'm a freaking genius. I'm an absolute freaking genius. Yeah, man. Last night, the Sixers, Joel Embiid, been treated for a mild case of Bell's palsy. The condition began in the playoff victory, and he said he wanted to keep it private. You know what? He didn't want any distractions. Well, there's been something wrong with him. He dropped 50 with Bell's palsy. It felt like there was something wrong with him. Like I said this the other day, he shot the three to try to tie it in that epic, I think it was game 1 in the Garden. Or maybe it was game 2, I don't know. But anyway, and he had this weird look on his face. And I remember saying on this show, this is weird. This is very weird. Well, he got Bell's palsy, and he still dropped 50. I got to tell you, that's pretty good. That's really, really good.